Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. And yes, today is another lesson in insanity. So the discussion we are having today is about what happened in France. Did Joseph Biden defecate his pants in France? So he was in France near the D-Day landings, meeting with the last living soldiers who fought at D-Day, who fought at Omaha Beach. Now, oddly enough, during the ceremony, you can see Joseph Biden hunching over. You can see interaction between Joseph Biden and his wife. And instead of Joseph Biden shaking the hands of these very elderly gentlemen in the background, he is escorted from the event by his wife in a very, very awkward manner. Now, some people are saying that, in fact, Biden defecated himself. Some people are saying that he was tired of standing and was looking for a seat. So the information that we have is that, indeed, Joseph Biden defecated himself and was immediately escorted off stage by his wife, obviously to prevent a very awkward and smelly moment. Now, what's the real issue here? Why should we, the American people, be concerned about this? Is it really the fact that this very old person with glaringly obvious cognitive issues that right now doesn't have control over his bowel movements, where he will defecate himself on stage, and then compounding that, again, the cognitive abilities that are, that are horrendous, to say the least. And we have seen this not only with him in public speaking engagements, but reports indicate that behind the scenes, when he is not medicated for speaking events, behind the scenes, it's even worse, much worse. But that is not the issue at hand. That is not what should concern the American people. What should concern the American people is why the Democratic National Committee, why the powers that be behind the scenes have not decided that this individual should not run for president again. And the reason that the powers that be behind the scenes, the group of individuals that are actually running the country, please make no mistake that an individual with these kind of cognitive disabilities who is defecating themselves and can't control his bowel movements, is reportedly walking around the White House, the living areas of the president, at times naked, after defecating himself. It's really bad. But why haven't they inserted another person to run in his stead for president? if he's not qualified, if he doesn't have the abilities to be the president in terms of decision-making processes and what have you, then it seems reasonable that those persons behind the scenes would acknowledge this fact, and they would, again, the Democratic Party would be looking to run another person in his place. But they're not doing that. And the reason they're not doing that is because of those very individuals behind the scenes that are now running the country. They don't want to lose power. I've talked about this before. If another Democratic front runner would to take charge, who has good cognitive abilities and is wanting to make decisions, will those individuals behind the scenes that ordinarily would never be able to win an election would not be in power. And what should really concern you as a voter, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're an independent, whether you're a Republican, whatever, is the fact that the DNC is not worried about this. They know what this looks like, but the problem is the election in all probability is rigged. They know that they have the ability to manipulate the voting process. Remember, this is the guy who got more votes than any president in U.S. history. In the entire history of the United States, this decrepit old man received more votes. And therein lies the issue. The powers that be that are really running the country right now know they can inject enough false votes into the system to remain in power. So they're not worried that this old man is defecating himself on stage, that can't answer the most basic questions, that can't interact with people. He has to read cards, read cue cards everywhere he goes. But they're not worried about that. They don't care about the optics because they have control of the election. They know no matter how bad this looks and how many people vote against Joseph Biden, it's not going to change the fact that they're going to be able to inject enough artificial fraudulent votes into the system to remain in power. And that's what's going to happen. My concern is there could be 70%, 68% of the country that votes against having this decrepit old man as the figurehead president, but it won't matter because they control the mechanisms of the vote. Now, the second question is, who's running the country? Who is running the country right now? Who are the people that are actually in charge? And look, I've talked about in the prior video about the federal bureaucracy, how it is being run, what happened during the 8 years that Obama was in power, and how that shaped and transformed the agencies that really run the country. Who the leadership functionaries of those agencies are, their backgrounds and where they come from. So again, you have an aged, old man defecating himself in public. Not once, but in all probability a multitude of times. You have cognitive abilities that are rapidly degrading. And when I say rapidly degrading, reports that we are getting is that Biden does not remember things that are told to him within a 15-minute time frame. And this is the optic. And they're okay with that. Because again, they control the outcome. The outcome. And not only that, obviously, they are also trying to use the power of a state, one state, New York, to change the body politic of what's happening in this election. They're trying to use the force of the state, of one state, New York, to change the outcome of an election. They can now claim that the leading candidate for president and opposition to this criminal cabal that now runs the country is a felon. And they're going to use that every chance they can get. In all probability, they may try to put the former president in prison or jail for at least a limited period of time, where they have the ability to get the photo op of the former president in prison garb. NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, I don't even want to call them the mainstream media. They are the propaganda arm of the unitary one-party state, which is also known as the Democrat Party. A party that does not even acknowledge that the United States, the disunited states, the ununited states, is a constitutional republic. They declare it's a democracy. And that's a very key word when you hear these Democrat operatives speak. These radical neo-leftist Marxists, when you hear them speak and they say, this person is a threat to our democracy, they don't say this person is a threat to the constitutional republic, because they don't see it as a constitutional republic anymore. It will evolve into a populist democracy, and then that will evolve into a totalitarian, left-wing, unitary, one-party state. And that's what's happening. As Joseph Biden defecates himself on stage and has to be escorted off. Go pull up the video for yourself. Watch it. Watch the other videos of him losing control of his bowel movements on stage. And then again, ask the question, why are they still letting him run? And the answer to that, again, is power and control by those who are currently running the country. They don't want to give it up. They want to keep it. So there you have it, another lesson in insanity. Thank you for joining us today. As always, have a good day.